Hello, lower extremity students. This is Dr. Cosby. Welcome to Unit 1 of Lower Extremity Injury Evaluation. The first stop in any evaluation course should certainly be components of the injury evaluation process. In fact, if you take an injury evaluation course and they don't start with what are the true key components to an injury evaluation, then you probably shouldn't be in that course, okay? So for me, it's important for all of us to be on the same page with what's required? What's the standard of clinical practice for practitioners who are performing injury evaluations, right? So I'm going to give you what the standard is for athletic training. In fact, if you do an injury evaluation and you don't have these components in your injury evaluation when you present them to a clinical preceptor or when you graduate from this program and you're doing these injury evaluations with your patients, then you probably should be questioning your clinical skill level, right? And so as we dive into this unit, you will have several online lectures. And what I've done is I've chunked those lectures into small, shorter lectures, but in concepts. So your first lecture will be on the H component of HIPS, which is history. Your second lecture will be on the the inspection observation component of the HIPS. Your last component will be on the palpation and special test component of HIPS. And so you can see where we're going with this unit, right? It's kind of a repeat of what we learned in the summer, but now I'm taking you deeper. And this is repetitive intentionally. The athletic training profession and the accreditation standards say we have to have this learning over time model, which means you learn a concept once and you grasp it, but then you learn it twice and now you own it, right? So there's going to be times in the athletic training program where you feel like, oh man, this is way redundant. I have it. If that's you and you're listening to the videos and you're saying, I already have this concept, then feel free to fast forward through that video, right? Not telling you need to listen to the entire video, but what I am telling you is that you need to watch it to learn, right? To fill in gaps where there are gaps in your knowledge, right? You'll also learn about the process of differential diagnosis, which I think is important as a healthcare practitioner. In fact, every injury evaluation process should be a differential diagnosis. You should always have in your mind what's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario, and you're working to use those special tests to kind of rule in or rule out pathologies as you evaluate patients, right? You'll have one handout in this unit, which is an anatomical term handout, and the goal and the focus of this is to never assume that you understand all of the anatomical terminology. So we're starting again at baseline. Here's the sheet. Here's the expectation of knowledge for you guys as first year Masters of Science in Athletic Training students. So at minimum, this is what I expect you to know. It's what I expect you to use when you're communicating with me, when you're writing your assignments in my class, and most importantly, when you're having those conversations with your clinical preceptors, right? You have 2 assignments in this unit, and I think the assignments warrant discussion and explanation because if I'm a student, I'm wondering, why do I have assignments? Are they meaningful? Are they truly meaningful? And I happen to think so in this particular module. You'll have your fracture assignment. Your fracture assignment is based on 2 key components in the injury evaluation process. Number 1, an injury evaluation technique should always involve ruling out fractures. It's one of the first things that we do when we're dealing with the bony pathology. And so you have to have an understanding of the different types of fractures that can occur, because what we know about fractures is they can have deleterious effects on our patients. And in some patients, especially in our adolescent patients, they could stunt growth, right? So you have a fracture assignment, which is really a component of injury evaluation. And then last but not least, you have the all-encompassing assignment, which takes all of the items that you've learned in the online lectures and places it in one place. So this is the injury evaluation process concept mapping assignment, where you will walk me through conceptually what components are required in the injury evaluation process. And this will allow you to organize them in such a way that then it's easy to recall as you're going through your clinical practicum internship classes. So what are the goals of this particular unit? The goal is to make sure that you understand the components of a clinical injury evaluation, right? The goal is to make sure that not only do you understand it, that you understand the importance of it and that you're able to apply it when we move into our lab class. I hope that you enjoy the lectures that were put together. They were put together intentionally, not to waste time, but to make sure that you truly have a grasp of the injury evaluation process. Finally, you should be spending about 8 to 10 hours in this particular unit. You might spend a little bit more if you're rewatching the lectures, but you should be spending about 8 to 10 hours total for this particular unit and its assignments. I'm praying daily that God keeps you safe. I'm praying for peace for some of you, for a positive, good growing mental health. I'm praying for that you feel a community about the Masters of Science in Athletic Training with your faculty, with your peers. And as always, if there's ways that I could be praying more specifically that you haven't already given me, please feel free to email me. Looking forward to our lab time together this week. Can't wait to see you all.